Live from the cheap seats of Chicago, this is the Nosebleed Sports Podcast where we talk everything from Bulls to the Bears, Cubs to the Hawks. If it is Chi-Town sports, we're talking about it, baby. Let's get this thing kicked off.
Hello and welcome to episode one of the Nosebleed Seats podcast. I'm your host, Danny Pylon. With me is your other host, David Barry. And David, big week within the world of Chicago sports, all the way from the Bears to the Cubs, and even the Blackhawks and college football.
It's a huge week for Chicago sports, Danny, and I have been dying to talk about it. Let's get this thing kicked off.
All right, let's get kicked off then. Let's talk about, the biggest thing in the room right now. The Bears taking on the Commanders yesterday, getting the 25-24 win off a Jake Moody game-winning field goal in his debut for the Chicago Bears.
I mean, it is a huge thing, especially with Cairo Santos going down. We had the concerns about Cairo kicking 50 yards plus. That's why you bring in Jake Moody. The concerns of him earlier in the year missing kicks was not a factor last night. The blocked kick was on the offensive line. If it wasn't for that, Moody would have gone 5 for 5 from 45 plus yards all game last night. Single-handedly, this man might be the savior of not only the Chicago Bears season this early on, but also the kickers in Chicago.
I mean, we're going to talk about the kicking game a little bit later on, but a kind of player of the game, a huge game for the running back DeAndre Swift on 14 carries, 108 yards, and mostly that last, run they had after the turnover of him really setting them up to get that field goal to go in.
I feel this is especially true. We've had our concerns about the Bears run game all season, them ranking near the bottom, I think 31st in run percentage and just rushing yards and rushing attempts. We knew that was a big concern coming into this game. How are we going to be able to win the rushing game? And DeAndre Swift played his heart out, but I think a big thanks, and coming from a former O lineman, it's got to go to that O line putting in different subs and realizing the O-line has to play their hearts out for DeAndre Swift and the Bears to win was a huge impact. And like you said, DeAndre Swift, 14 carries, 108 yards, but he also helped out in the receiving game. He was the Bears' leading receiver with 67 receiving yards, 2 receptions, and had the big touchdown as well.
I mean, going off that touchdown, the one that really put them in a good situation towards the end of the game. To me, it was kind of weird, David, how it went down. It kind of went in slow motion there. He gets it off to the left, and it kind of looked like they were watching him just walk through the end zone there. And, I mean, going off his receiving, another player who had a very good game, Caleb Williams, kind of on a run of things right now and starting to figure out with Ben Johnson.
I think especially we all had our doubts about Caleb Williams, and if you're a Bears fan that didn't have doubts, you're not a true Bears fan. We we all said, a lot of us said at the beginning of last year when the Bears traded away Justin Fields in the offseason that this was a mistake. After watching Justin Fields' performance this past Sunday in London and then watching Caleb's performance this past Monday, I think there should be no doubt in any Bears fan's mind that we made the right move in drafting him. And speaking about his passing yards, he has been dominant. He hasn't been hitting the 300-yard a game mark that we us fans have expected of him, but he's constantly hitting receivers. He's got a higher completion percentage. So he's doing the right things. We said this would take time for this offense to click in this Ben Johnson scheme, and slowly but surely it's happening.
Yeah, not just it's clicking there, and I mean he's you're saying we wanted a 300 yards, yeah, but the main thing was for we haven't seen a Bears quarterback get 4,000 yards, and he's on pace to get 4,009 yards. That's the current pace he's at. So he's off to a good start in his second year, and he's really progressing from his last season, and it's just the system he's underneath. And I mean, we'll go into it later because that's kind of the later talk there, but a kind of a big thing we have to talk about the three takeaways from the defense on the Bears defense, and mostly that last one towards the end of the game in the fourth quarter there.
Exactly. Me and you were texting about it to start, but let's start off with the first two turnovers. Jaquan Brisker had a great read on Jane Daniels in the red zone. Jane Daniels looks like he never took his eyes off Deebo Samuel on that route, and Jaquan Brisker reading that picks him off clearly. And later on in his return, it looked like he was ready to truck Jayden Daniels to do anything he can to possibly score. And that is the impact you have when Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon are both in the secondary, which was a big thing. Now to go into the first fumble, that was a huge play. Andrew Billings, which he's done great his whole career, and was the main purpose in signing him, is to eat double teams. The man did his job, forced the tackler to not hold the ball correctly. The ball gets punched out, and the Bears recover. And then finally, that third fumble. We've seen Bears games go the opposite way, where that's the Bears fumbling in that opportunity and have the lead. It felt weird for me and you, and we talked about it, that this does not feel like a Bears opportunity. Even when they got the fumble back, we thought the Bears are still going to find a way to lose, and yet they found a way to win. But these turnovers is what Dennis Allen needs to do to win. If you win the turnover battle, you're gonna more than likely win the game. And the Bears have been on a roll this season, second behind Jacksonville in total turnovers. Jacksonville with 14, the Chicago Bears with 12. This is going to be a key factor. If the Bears can add maybe another depth piece on the D line and maybe possibly get Jalen Johnson back, this defense is going to be scary.
Yeah, just going off of that, the defense has been scary, mostly with the takeaways. And, we're excited. When Ben Johnson came in, we're talking, or everyone in the city talks about that, Detroit offense through the years with him there. We talked all about the offense the Bears were going to think and have, but defense has been stepping up, which it's really nice to see. And I mean, you're going off that last fumble saying it's the opposite way. I tweeted this yesterday, or X'd it, I guess now, whatever. But it's nice. I'm being on the lucky side of winning games now. I mean, we had that field goal block versus the Raiders, and now we got the fumble, and I had the LeBron. Can't believe this is my life. I mean, it's just been growing up in this city, dude. It's been the exact opposite of things. We've seen the worst of the worst, and to get that type of luck happening to us right now just feels so good.
Yeah, this is a team, and it's early on still. It's only week 5, week 6, but this is a team that special things can happen, and it feels like it. Like you said, going into the Vegas game, they weren't playing so well. The offensive line was banged up. They're making substitutions, but as per usual, as we saw all throughout his rookie year and continuance of this year so far, Caleb Williams has the determination and the drive to lead a game-winning drive. And it's also thanks to Ben Johnson. Like we said, Ben Johnson ran a great offense in Detroit. A lot of people are upset we're not seeing the trick plays as much, but I much rather see fundamental football like we saw. And that last drive was key Ben Johnson and stuff we never see from the Bears. Just killing the clock, forcing Washington to use all 3 timeouts. I mean, it's just something we never see for the Bears. We see the Bears squander away. And I think the key moment on that drive, a lot of people talk about DeAndre Swift breaking away, having a big run. I think down to the 20, maybe a little closer to the goal line. I say the key moment is Caleb Williams sliding, realizing he can't go out of bounds. He's got to force Washington to take one of their timeouts, sliding there, forcing Washington to take a timeout, chewing more clock. I think if Caleb Williams and the Bears can continue to do this and continue to have that heart that they need, the Bears are going to do great things this season.
I mean, yeah, just like you said, that was a high IQ play. I mean, you grew up playing football a lot longer than me. I'm not, and you see when we text each other, you could tell I have a little bit of a newbie factor to me. I saw he slide. I'm like, why isn't he throwing this out? And then towards the end again, I'm like, oh, he meant to do that. He meant to take the time. And when you really like look at it, that's just a lot of growth from his first year. And I mean, mostly going, this game, I told all my friends, I'm like, this is a big game because this is going to tell who did we make a mistake in our pick last year. If you were looking last year, like oh, maybe we should have picked, Jaden Daniels. He looked like the better quarterback, and they got into a battle in this one. But now seeing the growth of Caleb Williams, now I'm like, no, I feel personally, we made the right pick. When we traded away Justin Fields, at first I hated it. I was like, what are we doing? Why are we giving up on this guy? Seeing what he's doing with the Jets, other than the first game he did for the Jets, very good. Other than that, now I'm like, we made the right choice. We're seeing the pick and making the right choice, and just kind of looking for your opinion on, do you feel now after, I mean, it's really early in both their careers, but do you feel like the Bears made the right pick in who they drafted with the number 1 overall pick last year with Caleb Williams over Jaden Daniels?
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is when the draft happened, everyone knew Caleb Williams was going to be the number 1 pick. There's very few drafts every couple of years where you know who the number 1 draft pick's going to be, no matter what. A couple years ago, it was Trevor Lawrence. Last year, it was Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams has that special factor. I watched him his time at Oklahoma, and growing up as a Notre Dame fan, I watched him at USC. The kid is special and has talent. Now, regarding last year to Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams' argument, who's better? Let's set the state here. Caleb Williams had multiple coaches, was coached by Eberflus, who could not find his way out of a wet paper bag. Let's just be honest here. And coaching defensively this season, we've seen that as well. But mainly, the one thing I want to talk about in comparison of the two is Caleb Williams in that first Washington game last year led the Bears down and led the game. We could have won there. We lost because of a fluked Hail Mary. The Fail Mary, as many fans call it. And going into this game, I know it wasn't just me and you. I know a lot of people were worried about that. I personally refused to watch any of the pregame leading up to this game last night because that's all they were going to talk about. But watching the game, Caleb is nowhere near perfect. And it's an obvious fact. No one is saying he is. He's got a lot of things to work on, but he is making progress every week, which is what you want. I truly consider this his rookie year. Yes, Jane Daniels did great things last year, went all the way to the NFC Championship. Here's the thing people are starting to realize. It is getting easier and easier to figure out this Washington offense and Jaden Daniels. We all know what happened the last time the Washington Commanders or the Washington Redskins had a mobile, agile quarterback. It was Robert Griffin III, and we all know how that ended. Not saying that's going to happen to Jaden, but he has that same mentality. And Jaden's been playing great. I think Washington's going to be good for a long time. I think this rivalry between the two, and it's considered a rivalry now. I think this is going to be a debate we're going to have for years to come. I don't want to go into saying it's going to be Brady Manning. I don't want to say that, but you get that intense rivalry in that. You get the feeling, especially in Caleb's hometown, he wants to win. He has that competitive advantage and that competitive gene in his body. And then also you have Jaden, who's proved that he can play at a high level. So this rivalry and the futures of these two young quarterbacks' careers is going to be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the rivalry. You talking about Brady Manning, biggest quarterback rivalry. If you really look at it, if you look at nowadays, you have Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. That's a big rivalry, and I do feel this is the next big rivalry coming into the NFL. Mostly, what makes it even better is this is 1 versus 2. That's
Yeah, this
that's like an ego, a battle of egos going at it. And I'm telling you, like you see the ways they play. I mean, let's like look at the numbers here. Caleb Williams, 252 yards, and he got 1 touchdown throw. Played an amazing game, led that driving it. I mean, Swift did, but Caleb Williams did his thing. Jaden Daniels, 211 yards, 3 touchdowns. So these two, you can tell when it's that time. Jaden Daniels like, I should be over you, and Caleb Williams is like, I got to show why they made the right choice, and it's gonna feed families. It's gonna be feed families for years, just like you said.
exactly. And I think especially we talked about the impact that Caleb Williams and Jane Downs are going to have on this league. I kind of want to switch over to a different impact. And I know it wasn't just me and you. A lot of people noticed it. The impact that the referees had on last night's game. It's terrible, and I've known to be argue about refs, and I've been wrong about calls. Listen, this might have been the most atrocious two-day span of terrible calls. The Kansas City Detroit game was blatant of missed calls, and the second Monday night game between the Bears and the Commanders was another one of just a bunch of missed calls and calls that shouldn't have been made. The touchdown to Roma Dunze, I understood the penalty because they called it the night before in the KC Detroit game, and I understand it. But looking at the replay, you can't make that call, even when the announcers are saying that that call should not have been made. You messed up, and I understand the head referee. It's his first season; he's still learning things. But it wasn't just that call. There were a lot of weird and phantom calls that led in Washington's way. And normally a Bears team of old would let that get to them. I mean, we saw in week 1 against Minnesota, Minnesota's getting a bunch of calls and the defense and the team just fell flat. However, last night was different. This Bears team, they realize whether or not they're going to get the calls or not, they need to play, and they came to do that. But I do have one thing to say. The NFL needs to get these officiating crews in check. It's not just this game. There have been a lot of missed calls for years now, but especially so far into this season. The NFL needs to get this fixed. And for years, the Bears have been unfortunate of a bunch of missed calls and stuff. I mean, go back to last year, that first the home game against Green Bay should have been a penalty. Bears could have won that game on a game-winning field goal, but the Bears did what they needed to do, did not let the outside noise get to them, and fought their way to victory, which is the most important thing.
I mean, you said it. Even you have the commentary even saying that's a bad call, and one of them was against the Bears fully. That game, just every outside aspect wanted Chicago to lose. Let's be completely honest. I mean, the referee and the calls, like you said, the Dunze touchdown. We're saying you can't be calling that on how close it is and on such a weird penalty as formation penalty. That's just that's not one you can't be close with. Mostly on he scores that touchdown, you have a whole different game. It's not the Bears
Exact,
win by one,
exactly.
and it's just, I mean, going off this game, it felt like they were getting attacked, right? But if we're looking at so far this season, they need to be more disciplined on every aspect. I mean, David, you see it, bro. There's so many penalties in a game for the Bears. We give it up too much. It's the discipline, and any stuff need to be fixed. I mean, towards the end of the game, Caleb Williams made a perfect throw. They were out towards their end line. DJ Moore, another formation penalty there, and just small stuff like that. And it's just, you know, for us, we need to stay disciplined. These penalties are killing us. We saw it right away in the first game with the Vikings, and it continues and it continues. And at least luckily we're in a 3-game winning streak now. But if we're playing, we're gonna play Baltimore pretty soon, and if Lamar Jackson's tired of losing, that's gonna be a good game where you can't give up penalties like that, really.
No, you can't. And I have it in my notes too, but the Bears need to clean up the penalties. And this, like you said, it's been an issue since week one. The penalties need to get cleaned up because you can't just blame the officiating crews. This is also just mental errors that cannot happen. And I think Ben Johnson's really come on to that on the players that this stuff cannot happen. If we want to succeed and win and do good, we need to clean up the penalties because that's what's going to end up killing us. Uh, Offensive line coming from an offensive line guy who played both sides of the line. O line needs to be better when it comes to penalties. I mean, thank God there were no holding calls, I believe, but just false starts is a key thing. We didn't have any, but O line needs to get. There's still a lot of things that need to work on the O line. Same thing with the D line, secondary, and so on and so forth. But like you said, the penalties are a major thing we need to clean up. I think one thing we don't need to clean up though, and this is going to be a debate for us. What do we do at kicker? Cairo Santos is out. The whole Chicago Bears fandom's worrying. What are we gonna do? We signed Jake Moody. We saw what he did in week one. That's why he got cut. What are we gonna do? Jake Moody's first kick, 48 yards. He nails it. Second one he nails. Third one he makes. Fourth one he should have made it, but it got blocked. I don't blame that on him. I blame that on the front line. Then it comes down for the game-winning kick. We all have that feeling. We've seen this story before. Bears miss a kick, they lose in embarrassing fashion. And I think a key thing, and they pointed it out too in the broadcast, switching of the ball. A lot of people were mad about that. Why is it kickers are allowed to use kicking balls different from the balls that are used in the regular game? And I think Jake Moody realized it too, that this is his opportunity to show people that he is still a competitive person and still a good kicker. And I think tonight showed it. I mean, I just read to you earlier today, they disactivated him from the active roster. He is still eligible to be reactivated for this week against the Saints. Pilot, in your opinion, coming as someone who played kicker, do you deactivate Cairo Santos again this week and let him get fully healthy and bring up Jake Moody, or do you let Cairo stay on the active roster and you keep Jake Moody down for emergencies only?
Man, that's a tough one. I think personally, I not just as a kicker, as an athlete, you would know if you're on a streak, you're on a streak where you're doing your job and you're doing very well at your job. You don't get taken out. And I think right now you give it to him, and like we're talking about the field goals that he made, it was 48 yards and then a 47 yarder. The thing we really have to see is when he gets into that 50, because that's been our struggle with Cairo Santos. But I mean, we're saying that, but and I mean, his so far this regular season, we're looking at it. His field goal percentage is 85%. He's 19th in the league. He's just mid. He's number one or tied number one for extra points, but that's extra points.
Yeah,
Um, his, you know, it's tough. I feel like you don't take out Moody yet, and you give him that chance one more time because I would love to see him hit a 50 yarder. As a mostly for us as a fan, like that's what we brought him in for. That's what we need to see. Keep Santos out for now. I love Cairo Santos. I mean, he scored mostly last year with Green Bay, and he does his thing. I mean, I'm just kind of looking at his splits here. 40 to 49 yards away, he's 3 for 3. You know, um,
but
50 yard.
historically, it's that 50-yard mark that things start to get worried, and that's why the Bears brought in Jake Moody. He's known to have the power to get it. It's the accuracy issues that have been the problem in his career. Last night, I don't think there were any accuracy issues. I think every kick would, and even the blocked one would have went in.
Yeah,
But again, it's being able to do the difference of being able to do it one week and being able to do it week in and week out is a different thing. And especially with how expensive Cairo Santos's contract is, it's gonna be kind of hard to just dump him and keep Moody. I do think you let Cairo fully heal, give him another week off. Let Moody kick this week, and if Cairo's back at full strength next week after the Saints game, then you bring him up. And I have no problem with leaving Moody on the practice squad and just leaving it at that. I think that's a perfect thing for the Bears to do.
I mean, I agree. You said this is going to be a debate between us. I think we're agreeing fully on the same thing. Mostly with that contract he has, he's the number one kicker. That's not the question at all. They're going to keep it. They're like, if we're going to pay you this money, we're going to play you. But if we're going to play you, got to go and make it. And
Yeah,
I love bringing in Moody for the fact that now Santos has to step up his game. Like
exactly.
these two are battling it, and two, what's it? You sharpen a knife with another knife.
Yep.
Sharpens other. That's what they're doing right now. But I agree with you fully. Let Moody get next week versus the Saints. See what he does. And then if he starts making some 50 yarders, then you have to think, okay, this guy's scoring from everywhere, 100% perfect. Then it's a conversation. So we'll see what they do. Like you said, they did just put it out there. He's going back to the practice squad. They could bring him back up. But
Yeah.
I agree with you fully. Let him go another week. Let's see what he does. Like we said, it's that 50-yard mark where we have to see. Because realistically, if you're in the NFL, that 40 yarders, it should be like an extra point to a high schooler.
Yes, it should. It should be. It's still hard to do, but they should be easier chip shots. While the
Exactly.
50-yard mark should be a little bit more competitive. And we've seen other kickers around the league be able to make 50-yarders no problem.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we're gonna wrap it up here soon on this Bears topic, but I kind of want to go through the Bears, their schedule here, and we're just gonna do a quick run me down of what do you think it's gonna look like for the Bears in your predictions. Basically, I'm gonna take you game by game, and I want to hear who do you have winning. It doesn't have to be a score, but if you want to do it a score, I mean we can. This is just kind of the fun part of this talk here. So
Yeah, totally.
the Bears coming up next game on the 19th. They're taking on the Saints.
I think this is a huge game, a Dennis Allen's revenge game, if you might call it, him facing his former team. I think the Bears are going to win this one. I've seen the Saints play. They have some competitive key pieces. They have the fight to keep going and keep digging. I think the Bears, especially after Monday, even though it's a short week, I think it's not going to be a blowout. It's going to be kind of close going forth, but I think the Bears are going to pull away with a win. I don't really have a score prediction in mind. I do feel Caleb throws at least two touchdowns. Maybe Rome catches one and he throws another one to DJ Moore or Cole Kmet.
All right, going on. So that's going to be 4-2. They take on the Ravens, which it depends on Lamar Jackson. I don't know. I'm gonna leave it to you now. What do you think is gonna happen with the Ravens?
I think let's see, this is a tough one. Now Lamar is more than likely going to come back. We've seen the Ravens the past 2 weeks struggle so much without Lamar, and that gives a lot of people hope. I had this from the beginning. If Lamar plays, as a loss. If Lamar doesn't play, I could see the Bears winning again in a little bit of a maybe by 14 points. If Lamar plays, I think we're gonna lose. And that's just me. I think this defense is very good. They're stepping up, but we're still a key piece away. Maybe Ryan Poles calls up the Titans, say, "What do you want for Jeffrey Simmons?" Maybe he goes to Vegas and say, "What do you want for Max Crosby?" Same thing with Cincinnati. What do you want for Trey Hendrickson? But if they don't do any of that, I think this is a loss for the Bears, sadly. So that would put them at 4-3, which I had this as a loss earlier on in the year.
Okay. So that's 4-3 if you give it a loss. Then they take on the Bengals, the struggling Bengals after that.
The Bungles, as I've been calling them the past few weeks. Listen, the Bengals are a really talented team, but you can tell that Joe Burrow was the heart of that team. And when they put Browning in, everything was off target. Nothing was really clicking. They made it close against Detroit later on in the game, but then they go and trade for Joe Flacco. They need a quarterback. Call up Cleveland. Hey, we'll give you a sixth or a fifth round pick or something for Joe Flacco. They get Joe Flacco. And Joe Flacco does what Joe Flacco does when he least expected of him. He makes a close game in Green Bay. Listen, Joe Flacco already beat the Packers once in Cleveland. Coming to Cincinnati, that was a huge thing. I think this is going to be a close game. I think the Bears see it as kind of a trap game, which it is for them, I believe. I think the Bears win this. I think it's a close fashion game, maybe a 3-4 point decision, but I do think the Bears beat Cincinnati.
Okay, so that's gonna lead into what is that? That's a 5-3. So then you got the Giants, Cam Scatterboo, Jackson Dart they take on later on, and they had a big win last time. But now, what do you think the Bears are gonna do? This is later in the year, of course, but what do you think they're gonna do with them?
Listen, I love the Giants. I love Jackson Dart, and I love Cam Scatterboo. The man is the equivalent of walking CTE, and I don't mean to make that offensive, but that's what the man is. The man just, in plain terms, simply does not give a fuck and wants to cause chaos, which I love out of a running back. When you wear the number 44 as a running back, you know you're there to cause mayhem. I think this is going to be a good game. I truly do. I think the Giants with Jackson Dart are starting to take a lot of good steps in the right direction. That win against Philly was amazing. It wasn't even a close game. It was New York dominated. It got close for a little bit, and then New York just pulled ahead, and Philly couldn't do anything to stop it. I think without Malik Neighbors, it's going to be tough for them to throw the ball, especially against Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker, Nasheer Wright, and then the resurrection of Tyreek Stevenson. I think it's going to be hard for them to throw the ball. It's going to be about the run with Cam Scatterboo. If the Bears can stop the run, the Bears take the game. I had this again earlier on in the season before anything. I had this as a win for the Bears. That puts us at 6-3 against after the Giants game. Gives us a 3-game lead over 500 going into, I believe at that point it is week 10 or week 11.
That's the Vikings.
The Minnesota Vikings. I mean, I thought they would have won week 1. They really should have. I think this is where the Bears get their revenge. I know the game's in Minnesota. It's a hard place to play, and the Minnesota crowd is just so loud and so passionate. I think the Bears win this. We've seen the Vikings without JJ McCarthy. I believe JJ McCarthy is back or is in the process of coming back very soon. But with no Jalen Johnson to cover Justin Jefferson, it's going to be a tough one. And I mean, if you can get if you can cover your guys, shut down the run, like I said, that's been the argument all year with this defense. The Bears are going to win. I think Caleb in this game, after week 1, takes a huge step. I think this might be a legacy game for Caleb as much as we consider the Washington game. I think this is where the offense starts to click. I think this is really in this time of the season is where we see a lot of that Ben Johnson offensive scheme, a ton of the trick plays, and just that the bondness that this team would have. So I'm going to take the Bears over Minnesota at that point, putting us at 7-3.
Oof. All right. Now you got the Steelers after that. That's a tough one in my opinion.
As much as I want the Bears to win this game, Aaron Rodgers' potentially last game at Soldier Field, I think the Bears are going to lose this. That Steelers defense is so tough to play against, and it has been for a while. Aaron Rodgers still at that age. We didn't really see it in New York. I mean, his first year in New York, he played maybe a matter of 2 minutes and got hurt. Last year, really didn't see it. This year, this is the Aaron Rodgers of old I grew up watching and I hated. I mean, he has the Steelers at 4-1 and top of the AFC North. This is going to be a loss, and it hurts me to say that. I'd love for Caleb to beat the guy he looked up to as a kid, but I think this is going to be a loss for the Bears. So that's going to put us at what, 7-4?
Yeah, 7-4, and then after that, you're gonna go on another tough one. You have to take on the Eagles in Philadelphia.
This isn't going to be pretty. I mean, I had, like I said, this I had as a blowout at the beginning of the year. Philly's starting to struggle a little bit, and their struggles are really starting to show. I mean, primetime game, day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday game in Philadelphia. It's a hard place to play, especially that late in the year, where the Eagles are probably fighting for that number one spot in the NFC. I could see it being a shootout. I could see Caleb and Jalen Hurts going back and forth, back and forth. I think Philly's going to win this game, make a 7-5 on the year. I do think it's going to be a shootout, though. It's going to be a very entertaining primetime game.
Okay. Then after that, first out of the two with the Packers.
Is this the first? This the first game's at home, correct? So this
Yeah,
first game's at home.
no, at Packers
Uh,
away in Green Bay.
week one, the first matchups in Green
It's
Bay.
in Green Bay, and that's December 7th.
December. So this is where my ego kind of gets a little too big about the Bears, but I also have to keep it real. I see the Bears splitting with Green Bay. I don't know what it's going to be at that point after a humiliating two losses back to back against Pittsburgh and Philly. I could see them losing to Green Bay in Green Bay. I could see it being just Josh Jacobs running amok, Jordan Love passing. Bears defense just can't stop it. Caleb struggling a little bit. So I'm going to take Green Bay winning that. That puts us at 7-5.
Yeah, you're just going on a losing streak now. I don't blame you. Honestly, we've seen it year after year, and it's not fun. It is
No.
not fun at all. And then, I mean, at least after that, in my opinion, you get a break. You get the Browns, and that's at home.
I think especially at this point, Shador Sanders is going to be starting. We've seen what Dylan Gabriel can do. They traded away Joe Flacco. So evidently the Browns want to see their two rookie quarterbacks perform and what they can do. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be a hard challenge for the Bears to try and block Myles Garrett and block the defensive line. But I think Caleb's going to take advantage of this. I think this is a game where the Bears, like I said, at this point in my predictions, the Bears are on three straight losses. I think they bounce back. I think they beat Cleveland, and I think this kind of rejuvenates the Bears fan base and the Bears itself. You're at 8 wins. Realistically, yes, the NFC North is going to be tough, but if you can win this game, you're 8-5, 8-6 maybe. You're in a good spot. So I'm going to have the Bears win this game against Cleveland.
All right, then we got the Packers again, and you said it just depends on who wins the first one. You think the other's going to go the opposite?
Yeah, I mean this is a series, and we've seen it in the past where the Packers just bully the little brothers in the Chicago Bears. I think after winning the last game of the year last year in Green Bay in a last second Cairo Santos field goal, the Bears realistically should have been 2-0 against Green Bay last year. I think after losing that first matchup in Green Bay this year, I think the Bears are going to win at home. I think it's a big win that they need at home to keep, like I said, keep that confidence, keep that flow going. That puts them at, I think, what, 9 wins now? 9-5 on the year.
Okay, and then we got the 49ers who will have some of their players back.
This is going to be a bloodbath. I mean, this is not even going to be. I hate to say it. When we faced San Fran last year, it was a blowout, and I think it's going to be the same story again. San Fran, even with their injuries, is a really good team and still competing in the NFC West. This is going to be a really good game. I do have San Fran winning it. I think it's kind of going to be an embarrassing game for the Bears. Put you at 9-6 on the year, which is not terrible at that point. And then would we have the last game of the year in Detroit?
Yeah, versus Detroit. Yeah, so
versus
so
oh
that's
yeah
at home.
versus Detroit. Yeah, at home. I forgot. I think it's going to be interesting. If Detroit, here's the thing. If Detroit's resting, there is already a guaranteed playoff spot. They can't go up, they can't go down. I think Dan Campbell's going to rest their starters or maybe play them like the first quarter or two. If Detroit's fighting for a playoff spot, it's going to be a nail biting game. I do have the Bears winning. I think the Bears are going to split with the whole NFC North. I think they're going to lose one with each team and win one with each team. Bears, if the Bears win that game, they're 10-6. Depending on how tough the NFC North is and what the rest of the NFC is, more than likely that's going to get you a seventh seed in the wild card. And even if you lose your 9-7, could get you a wild card spot or 9-8. I'm sorry. So I think the rest of this Bears season is going to be very interesting, to say the least.
No, I agree with you, but we talked about them long enough, and let's switch it over to, like I said, it's a big week for Chicago sports, and I mean, we talk about it was a big game yesterday, but in the biggest situational, the Cubs and them making the playoffs. What a time it's been for when they got in and they lost and they went all the way to Game 5 and just kind of through that playoffs they were down 0-2, and then they came back at Wrigley and it was just whoever it was home field advantage shown throughout the whole playoffs.
Yeah, man, totally. And here's the thing. I've been a Cubs fan for my whole life. When the Cubs made it in 15 and 16, those were special seasons in my mind. And then the past couple years, they should have made it last year. A couple years, they should have made it. This was the year. And the expectations started off hot. Yes, the Cubs losing that series in Japan was heartbreaking, but once we got back to the US, the Cubs were on fire. Then you lose Steele and everyone kind of loses confidence. Then you lose Shota, then everyone really starts to lose confidence. Then Cade Horton comes out of nowhere and looks like a National League Rookie of the Year contender. PCA has his breakout year. Kyle Tucker's hot. Seiya Suzuki looks like this player we signed for. Michael Bush is on fire. The whole offense is clicking. Defensively, we look great. Matt Shaw looks like another Rookie of the Year candidate. Listen, this Cubs team is special. Yes, the playoffs did not go how we wanted. It was a close. Once I knew that Cade Horton wasn't going to pitch in the wild card, I said, okay. Then he was put on IL. He could come back for game 5 of the NLDS. I said, okay, if we can get to game 5 of the NLDS, the Cubs have a shot to win this. Then Craig Counsell says we're not putting him on the NLDS roster. I said, okay, this might be done. First game, we lose horrifically. I said, okay. Game 2 in Milwaukee, we lose. I said, okay, listen, this is going to be a blowout. The Cubs are going to lose at Wrigley. Just be competitive. Cubs win game 1 at Wrigley. Okay, 2-1 lead for Milwaukee. Okay, we're getting a little mojo back. Then game 4, Cubs look great. I mean, if you have never experienced a Wrigley Field crowd in October, it is something that magic. It's words, something words can't
Oh
describe.
my, yeah.
I mean,
I'm sorry. I'm gonna cut you off there because I am a White Sox fan. That's why we kind of have this working out here. You could talk about the Cubs. I'll talk. I watched this game. Over here, my roommate is a Brewers fan, so we were watching the game, and I'm looking at it, and I've never like. I ain't gonna lie, I was cheering for the Cubs. I mean, it's a Chicago team in the playoffs, and just
yeah.
seeing the atmosphere of Wrigley made me want to go to Wrigley. It was one of the most beautiful things I've seen within the city for the sports and for the city, and then with the you're talking about it. I thought they were just going to roll over and die. Brewers are the best team in MLB after that second half of the season flip. They're the best team in MLB. And then
Yeah.
I thought the Cubs were going to roll over and die. And for them to come back and just mostly being on TikTok, I saw all the edits, man. And it just made me like shed a tear for, like just to say something like, I'm not feeling this for the moment with the Sox. Maybe a couple more years, then I can get it. But that was
Yeah.
such a beautiful to see the power of Wrigley Field at its finest.
I mean, totally. Like I said, I've grown up a Cubs fan my whole life. When they won the World Series, that might have been the happiest I've ever been. 108 years, and it finally happens. And everyone at the beginning of the years, the Cubs were hot. They were the number one team in the MLB. We thought they were going to win it all. Things didn't go our way. And now the big question is in the offseason, what are we going to do with Kyle Tucker? And personally, I got a lot. I mean, originally he wanted to be paid 500 million like Vladimir Guerrero did. And I said in the beginning of the year, if he plays like Vladimir Guerrero plays, obviously two different positions, but if they play at that same intensity and that same level, I have no problem giving him 500 million. And at the beginning of the year, I had no problem giving him the 500 million. I said, "Shit, you're gonna play like this? I'll give you a blank check with however many years you want, however much money you want." And as the season went on, had that lingering injury, and I mean, the main thing, and he puts, and it hurts me to do this, but it puts him as a candidate for disappointment of the week. 3-1 count. I think it was the bottom of the seventh or the eighth. Men on first and second. This is the game. These are the moments you live for as a pro player, and even just a athlete in general. To win the game, he strikes out swinging, and I mean, I was I was pissed. I was aggravated. I cursed a storm. I fucking threw shit. But I mean, a lot of things change. My opinion changes. How much money I'm willing to pay him changes if he just swings the bat. If you strike out swinging, okay, I'm still mad, but you gave heart. You strike out looking is a different story. And another thing is now, what do you do with Shota Imanaga? I mean, the guy looked flawless his rookie year, and then the this year he was just pitching home run derby and BP balls all year. And it got to the point in Game Five we had to treat Game Five as a bullpen game. So did Milwaukee, but you need an ace in that situation, and I think it's going to be hard. I mean, I would keep Shota. You kind of hope that maybe this is just an off year with everything. He kind of got relied on too much. But after next year, if he continues to play like this, I'm not putting him as your. I'm putting him as a day three, maybe possibly even day four starter.
Wow. Wow.
But I think now, with free agency coming up after the season, I think the main thing, and I think most Cubs fans say this, there's one person we need to bring. Bring him back home. Please bring home Kyle Schwarber. The man is on fire. If we would have waited another year or two, I believe, the universal designated hitter rule comes into effect, and which is what you need. You need that power. You have it from Seiya Suzuki, Michael Bush, PCA, Ian Happ, which is another person that kind of didn't have a great season, but was still there. If you bring in Kyle Schwarber, you have that power. Now you just need pitching. I think the Cubs need a pitcher. You need another guy. Cade Horton's going to be your ace. If Justin Steele can come back and pitch at a great, not a great level, but a decent enough level to be uh, your your number two, number three starter, that's perfect. You need a guy. Dylan Cease. Go get Dylan Cease. I mean, the guy was electric. He had a great year. I think that's another guy the Cubs need to bring in. The Cubs need a lot to do this offseason. And if Jed Hoyer can do it, I think Cubs fans are going to look fondly upon this year as a year that was built for momentum.
Okay, so you're saying the Cubs need a pitcher, and I agree with that fully. I think that was a little bit of a struggle during this playoff. We saw it, and like it was just interesting. You brought up the Cubs were the number one team in the MLB for the beginning of the season, and just is that what you say was the biggest downfall? I mean, you can't really say it was the biggest downfall. They were, a couple games off the Brewers, but what was just that downfall in your opinion, of just looking back in the season that stopped them from being the best team in MLB?
I mean, there's a lot of things, and I think the main thing is the Cubs it got into their heads. The Cubs started to feel like they're the goddamn Chicago Cubs, and it got to their head. And I said it before. I said people are going to start to realize this team, and it came obvious with PCA. I mean, he's my age. He's 23 years old. He's still a young kid. He's got a lot to figure out. This team is really young, and they got a couple older positions, but I think you have to build around the core of PCA, uh, Cade Horton, Matt Shaw. Like these are guys that are your core foundation. These are your Rizzo, your Chris Bryant, your Javier Baez. These are the guys you build that core around. And I think I think Jed Hoyer realizes he's got to do it. And I'll just say this, and we'll end the Cubs discussion on this. I think come April and May, the Wrigley is going to be popping this year. Let's just leave it at that. That Wrigley Field, the north side of Chicago, will be some of the most electric baseball you will see come next year.
Wow, that's a take. For the city, I hope so. For me being a Sox fan, I don't know how much I hope for that, honestly. But like you said, we're gonna end that with the Cubs there, and while one Chicago team season ended, another's just begun, and totally opposite fashion. We have the
Yeah,
Chicago Blackhawks 1-2-1, and you know that one being the loss in OT against the Boston Bruins, and they were projected by everyone to be last place again, and just kind of take me through, your thoughts. It's only been a couple of games, and you don't really have big expectations for the Blackhawks already. So what do you expect from them really this season in the eyes of David Barry and the eyes of a fan from the city?
I mean, here's the thing. The Blackhawks are going to be the Blackhawks, and it's weird to say. It's the 100th year. It's a centennial season of the Chicago Blackhawks. You see, I have the Chicago Blackhawks flag. Me and you grew up, and especially me, who grew up in a family that watches all Chicago sports, and especially the Blackhawks.
Oh man.
We listen. Drafting Connor Bedard might have been the best thing the Hawks have done in a while. I think, and last year we had a lot of people had doubts. Is Connor Bedard really that good? Is he worth? I'm sorry, the number one pick we spent. I'm gonna say this. I don't know that much about hockey. I watch it. I understand the basics of it. I will say this though. I know a dog. I know when someone has that dog in them. And Connor Bedard has that dog in him. He is willing to go out and fight. How we've seen it this season in this only short little amount of span of games. He is willing to fight. He is willing to say, fuck you. I'm goddamn Connor Bedard. We're the goddamn Blackhawks. We're a historic franchise, and we're not just going to go flat out. Huge season for the Blackhawks. As long as they're competitive. That's all their Hawks need to do is be competitive. Like you said, they won last night. It was a great night to be a Chicago sports fan. The Blackhawks win, the Bears win. The Blackhawks just need to be competitive this year. I think the Madhouse on Madison is going to be bumping. I'm personally going to be at a lot of games this year. I hope you are too. I hope me and you can go together. The Chicago Blackhawks are going to do something special this year. I don't know whether it's going to be making the playoffs or what, but this core of Connor Bedard and the rest of the team around him. I'm sorry, like I said, I don't really know names. I don't keep up with the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks were bad for so long after the dynasty that it's kind of hard for me to keep up. And I'm more of a big Bear and Cubs fan, but I still support my hockey team. I still watch games when I can. Like I said, this is going to be a good season. I think as long as the Hawks stay competitive, I won't be mad. That's all I can really say. As long as they're competitive and show heart and don't fall flat on their backs all year, we'll be good.
I mean, I agree, but I want to get impressed, and I don't personally think they're gonna do that big of things. And I hate to say it, and I really hope they make me eat my words. First of all, Connor Bedard, biggest name. I mean, his jersey is, sorry, other side back there.
Yeah.
I love Connor Bedard. I think he's great, but the one thing he's missing from being a full out dog is his defense. He's a great attacker, and I get that's his way. That's his thing. He's supposed to be the attacker, but I need to see more on the defensive side from him. He's on that squad out there when it's a 3v3. He needs to do better on the defense. Offensively, he's shown everything. I do not regret taking him as a number one pick. His skill is, I don't know many players that can do what he does at such a young age. But the Blackhawks overall, they're a very young team, and maybe they won't impress me this year. I can't say, but I'd love to see them just grow into it. And I like you said, you saw a couple of these fights they have on the ice for each other. They're coming together as a team, and I agree with that. And it's just they need to come together as a team, and they need to find out a way to just work together and let the young players need to grow. I mean, that's my main thing.
Yeah.
It's just there's a lot of young. I mean, there's 19, 21. Spencer Knight, starting goaltender, is only 24 years old. Take advantage of it. So I think right now they may struggle, but the one thing that's good about it is we have so many of these young guys that I think the Blackhawks are such a future team. And that's what I'm excited to see for the future. So this year, I can't think much of them. I think they're going to be at the bottom of the table. If they get more than being last place, like every power ranking has them, I'll be happy with it. I mean, they won against Utah, and Utah's a brand new team, so I don't know how proud you can be about beating them. I mean, these new teams usually don't start off good. So if they're not last, I'm happy. And that's such a mean thing to say, but it's just the truth. And it's so weird to me now. Like we said, like since that dynasty, they've been terrible. Yeah, but it's so weird because, we're talking about growing up in Chicago sport. You have the Blackhawks that time where their dynasty was such a fun time.
Yeah. And I mean, there's always it, like you said, it's the Hawks just need to play hockey. It's gonna sound stupid, like I said, you know more about hockey than I do, really. But just coming from me, I think if they can, how do I word this? If they can beat expectations, let's say that. Like I said, I don't think they're gonna be a playoff team. And like I agree with you. If as long as they show improvement and positive notes and build on that in the future, that's all we need. We need to build for the future. And I think Bedard is going to be the future of this team for a long time, kind of like how we had Tays and Kane for a long time. And I think Bedard kind of needs that sidekick, that that other guy to kind of be there for him.
Exactly. And I agree fully. And I mean, I like Teravainen. He's leading the team and in points, and he's 31 though. He's gonna be that mentor for them. And
Yeah.
it's the older guys are really so far early in the season are the ones putting in the effort out there and really showing the young guys what to do, which is great. And like you said, he needs that sidekick, and I'm just kind of waiting to see who's going to be a sidekick. Who's the guy that's going to step up in the back? Is it Leshinov? He just got drafted from Bulgaria. He's only 19, like I said, one of those younger guys, and we'll see who it is. And I agree with you. He does need a sidekick. We need another Jonathan Tays and Patrick Kane, duo. We got a goaltender in Patrick Knight. Spencer Knight. We got a goaltender, so we can build something here for the future, and it won't be this year. Give it 2 years. I think the Blackhawks are back towards the top, but that's where we're gonna stop with the pro sports. And David, I know this next segment you're really excited for. What
This is my bread and butter right here.
what a weekend for college football. What a week or full week for college football.
I mean, let's just start off with this. I think this might have been one of the more exciting weeks of college football this year. I mean, let's start off with the biggest upset. And I know they're not ranked anymore, but this is huge. Northwestern gets a win over Penn State. Yes, it was a close game, but here's the thing. You lose to Northwestern. James Franklin's gone at Penn State. He is no longer there. There were the jokes about him not being able to win the big game. And evidently, he can't win the minor game. So you got to leave. Great win by Northwestern. I think that program is finally starting to climb back on the rise after the whole Pat Fitzgerald scandal. I think that team's on the rise. Now let's kind of talk about another Illinois team, the University of Illinois. Listen, this is a game they needed to win. This is a game where not only you beat the number one team in the country, the defending national champions. This is a game you needed to win to make the Big Ten title game. They don't win this game. I don't think they're going to need a lot to happen now to make the Big Ten title game. I think they're still a playoff team. They dropped out of the rankings, and a lot of people complaining. Why is, say, the University of Notre Dame in the power rankings, in the top 25, and Illinois is out? Illinois got blown out by Indiana. That was a game that should have been close to Illinois, should have even potentially blown Indiana out of the water, and they get blown out. And then lost against Ohio State. But the main thing is the University of Notre Dame, college I've supported since I was a little kid, didn't attend, but just the when the Bears suck, Notre Dame was right there for me to fall back on. And it was a disappointing first 2 weeks of the season. You lose to Miami, which I thought, and we needed that when I thought that would have been huge. I hate the University of Miami just as a rivalry. And then you lose to Texas A&M, which should have won that game. There's a holding penalty, doesn't get called at the end. But ever since then, this defense has stepped up. Marcus Freeman has told the team basically, look, guys, we're not playing like we're supposed to. We're playing down to our level. We need to be playing up to our level. Notre Dame now, if they win out, they're a playoff team. And I know a lot of people hate it, the favorism of Notre Dame. Oh, it's a big name school. They're not in a conference. Listen, with a 12-team playoff format, Notre Dame doesn't need to be in a conference to make the playoffs. If they can win out, this is a huge week. USC beat Michigan last week, so this is a chance for Notre Dame to have their first and possibly only ranked win of the season. This is rivalry week without it being rivalry week for the University of Notre Dame. If Pilot, I don't know if you understand the tensions that are between these two teams, but I have watched the USC Notre Dame rivalry for years, and this is the one game a year I've always looked forward to. And especially this year with it, what could be potentially the last matchup of USC versus Notre Dame for either permanently or for a long time. This is a game Notre Dame needs to win, and I believe is gonna win. It is going to be a bloodbath. CJ Carr is going to be the quarterback that Notre Dame fans thought he was. This is going to be a game Jeremiah Love either dominates on the ground or through the air. Listen, Price and Love is a dominant back duo in the college football world that doesn't get talked about. And then speaking of college football, just in general, I know I'm ranting a little bit. This is what gets me excited. I love college football. Um, the one thing that needs to be said is I don't even really know, man. Like I'm losing a blank mind here. I'm just so excited. But no, the rest of the season is going to be interesting. Obviously, with Northwestern, they're out of playoff contention. Can they make a good bowl game? Can they just get to 500? Illinois, you got to win out. Same thing with Notre Dame. You got to win out to make the playoffs. These are non-negotiables. But I think Illinois makes it in, and I think Notre Dame's going to win out. I truly do think Notre Dame's going to win out the rest of their schedule. They're going to beat USC. They're going to get into the playoff, maybe as the 10th to the 12th seed, and they're going to shock a lot of people. And Irish fans, let's make another run at the Natty. Last year, we should have won. Came down the last second. We didn't win it. We had a lot of key guys missing. I think this is the year, and this team is going to be competitive for a long time. Hopefully, this is the year we make it back to the Natty or we win the national championship.
I I can agree with you on the fact of Notre Dame. I think they're a team that deserves to be back into the. But the Miami loss was tough, but I mean, look at them right now. You can't blame it. But the Illinois, the Fighting, it's they don't deserve to be there. And I'm sorry to say that. You got destroyed by Indiana. It wasn't even close. And, Ohio State, I have to give them credit where it's due. They made the Ohio State look human. They got 16 points on them when the Ohio State wasn't allowing any touchdowns. But if Illinois get to the playoffs, they're just going to lose out in the first round. And I think maybe a team like Maryland or even their next game is Washington, and maybe they're not doing the greatest this year compared, to Illinois. But I think those are trap games that they lose. But it could happen. They could win out. They could stay in it. But the point is just they can't compete against the top teams, and that's the problem. I think Notre Dame, on the other hand, they can go into the top team and play with them. They really could. I mean, they got unlucky that their first game with Miami didn't go their way. It was a close game. It was 27-24. They didn't get blown out. And then
Yeah.
Texas A&M 41-40. I mean, those two were just tough, but now they're on a run like this. Purdue 56-30, Arkansas 56-13, Boise State 20-7, NC State 36-7. I think they go to they take on USC, and I think they get the business done there. And that's just like you said, that USC game is the biggest game in their season. It
Yeah,
is.
it quite literally is. It's going to define what is going to happen for the rest. And like you said, the losses to Miami and AM, they're close games. It's the reason why Notre Dame is still ranked. And I know everybody hated it. I had my doubts when they went 0-2. I said we shouldn't be ranked in the top 25. Yet we still are. And look what it does for this team. You're now ranked back in the top 15. The Notre Dame understands this. They understand the criticism they faced year in and year out. And Notre Dame teams of old, I've watched the Brian Kelly era. Notre Dame teams of old would fold at this point. We'd lose another game or two, and we'd make a decent to mid bowl game. Maybe we make the Pop Tarts Bowl. And just this Notre Dame team is special. Marcus Freeman is the head coach that I've wanted for my Notre Dame Fighting Irish for years. I watched Brian Kelly coach in a national title game, and they got blown out by Alabama. I watched Marcus Freeman coach in the national title game, and I have faith. I mean, like I said, this Notre Dame team is going to be special. And going back to Illinois, I mean, listen, you want to make the playoffs. There's no doubt in my mind. You want to make the playoffs, even if you lose in the playoffs. As long as you don't get blown out, you set yourself up for A, future recruits, and B, you set a brand, you set a standard. And I think that's what Illinois is missing is they're not setting the standard of what an Illinois football team should be.
Yeah, they haven't been, and I mean, just look at the turnovers. The Ohio, I mean, I don't know if I can blame them fully on the turnovers for the fact that the Ohio State has the best defense in all of college football. I mean, I
Yeah,
you can
it's
agree with me on that. They are the best.
yeah,
They're number one, and deservedly so. They're number one. Can't blame them too much. I mean, you got 16 on them, but they were all in the last, what was it, last 5 minutes of the games.
kind of. And I don't mean to interrupt you, but I have it in my notes. The touchdown that they score to open the third quarter. I love that play design. That little fake pitch, I think it was.
Yeah.
You need to have play of creative design against Ohio State. Ohio State's going to be a hard team to beat. It just is. They're the defending national champs. They're more than like, as much as I hate to say, they're more than likely they're going to go back to back. But you need to show fight. That's the main thing is you need to show fight. And realistically, if I have to give a winner of college football this week or a winner of just Chicago sports in general, I was going to give it to the Bears. It's going to go to Northwestern. You upset Penn State when you think you're going to get blown out. It doesn't matter if Penn State's ranked. Penn State is ranked anymore. You beat Penn State in Penn State. That is a difficult thing to do. It is not very common that it happens, especially against teams like Northwestern. That should have been a blowout from the start. It should have been 56-7, 56-14. Northwestern comes in and says, listen, we don't care who you are. We don't care where we're at. We're going to play. We're going to play until the last whistle is blown. And that's what they do. They win, and look what it does. It costs James Franklin his job at Penn State. And by the way, that is an expensive buyout Penn State's going to have to pay.
Oh yeah, and we saw. I mean, this is going towards the Penn State side. You saw. I don't know if you saw Micah Parsons saying it was kind of harsh. That was his former coach is saying that's harsh. Do you feel Penn State, in a quick little summary, made the right decision?
Here's the thing, and I've seen it with a lot of college football coaches. If you can't win the big game and you're constantly at the big game and you can't win it, doesn't matter how good you're going to do, you're going to lose your job. And especially in the world of college football, where excuse me, especially in the world of college football, where every week's a new week. You're not facing the same opponent twice unless it's in the playoffs or in the conference championship game. So James Franklin, and I think it kind of goes back to what happened last year in the Orange Bowl. He talked all this garbage, all this trash about needing to be in a conference, and everyone thought Penn State's going to destroy Notre Dame, and it looked like that from the beginning. What does Notre Dame do? They have the determination, they refuse to quit, and they win the game. Penn State cannot win the big game. At least with James Franklin, they couldn't. So James Franklin, sorry to say it, had to see you go. Another sad loss for Penn State. Drew Aller's out for the year. That is a terrible injury, especially for a guy that could have gone into the draft this past year, decided, you know what, I'm going to stay another year at Penn State, maybe have a shot at going to the playoffs and potentially winning the national championship. Remember, they were a game away from winning the national championship. They beat Notre Dame. They're in the Natty against Ohio State. But now with this injury, this is tremendous and not tremendous. This is a terrible. Prayers to James Franklin and also prayers to DJ Moore. We didn't talk about it earlier on, but he stayed at a hospital last night in Washington, in Maryland. Prayers to him. Ben Johnson did say earlier today in an interview, I believe on ESPN 1000 with Jeff Joniak, he's going to be day to day. So prayers to Ben Johnson and obviously prayers to Drew Aller. Hopefully he can bounce back from this injury. I think he's a great player. If he can bounce back and an NFL team gives him a shot in the draft, I think he's going to do great things in the NFL.
Right.
But one last thing before we go, Pilot. I love this little segment. If you want to introduce it, you can go on ahead. But this is my favorite segment of the podcast.
All right, yeah, and that's what I'm gonna get to, and we're gonna show it. I'm gonna show it at the bottom here. You know, you're one thing about us being from this, the Chicago, the city. We love to talk about our disappointments and complain. I mean, you see it all over social media. So, David, We have a new segment, and this is going to be here every week for y'all watching at home. It is David Barry's disappointments of the week. And David, you can take it away now.
So, disappointment of the week, guys. We have a bunch of candidates. I had to narrow it down to the top three, but let's break down the top three. Number one, James Franklin. Obviously, we just talked about it. That's a disappointment, not just in Chicago sports, but a disappointment in general. Number two, Kyle Tucker. You can't sit on a 3-1 swing, baby. You won all this money. We're going to give it to you, but you got to swing away. You got to give hard. And number three, a lot of people are going to say, if they know me, oh, Monday Night Football, I hate listening to Joe Buck. It's Troy Aikman. And the disappointment of the week, this is a clear victory. I thought before the Monday night game, it's going to be Kyle Tucker, James Franklin's going to be a toss-up between the two. Last night proved disappointment of the week, Troy Aikman. A lot of you are saying, Troy Aikman didn't play. Why is he a disappointment of the week? And it's going to be a simple fact of this. The Bears aren't a national media spotlight anymore when it comes to football-wise. Yes, they're a national market. It's a very easy team to sell out for. Sorry, and make big media coverage for. But Troy Aikman, if you listen to the game, was kind of shitting on Caleb the whole game. And I get it. Troy Aikman is a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's done great things in the NFL. He's a Super Bowl champion multiple-time Super Bowl champion. But here's the thing. What are you going to do without Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, and Deion Sanders? Let's be fair. And I pulled up the stats on this, and these are true stats. Troy Aikman, in his first 20 career games, had a passer rating of 57.4, threw for 3,366 yards, 14 touchdowns to 31 interceptions. In a time where the run game was dominant in the NFL, yes, they were throwing the ball a lot, but the run game was really was really the bread and butter for a lot of teams at that point. Now, compare this to Caleb Williams' first 20 games in the NFL. Caleb Williams, a 90.6 completion percentage, has threw for 4,256 yards, 27 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. Interceptions. So, Troy Aikman, you really going to talk that, yes, there are things Caleb Williams needs to work on. There's no doubt about it. But the constant glazing of Jaden Daniels, the constant criticism of Caleb Williams. What did Caleb Williams and Bears fans do to you? Usually I crap on Joe Buck. I can't stand Joe Buck's commentary. It started from when he called the Cubs World Series win. He's just doesn't have any excitement for it. Maybe that's because his dad was an announcer for the longest time for a Cubs rival. But Troy Aikman, you have no excuse. There's no reason to crap on a young player that much on a national media spotlight. First of all, and I love this because I've never seen a Bears coach do it. Ben Johnson kind of calls him out this today on ESPN 1000 in an interview with Jeff Joniak. He said he came home today. I believe his kids were watching the broadcast, the second half of the broadcast, and he kind of heard what Troy Aikman said and kind of commented on it. I don't remember what Ben Johnson's exact quote was here, and I don't mean to misquote him. But I believe he said something along the lines of they're just hating on the Bears. They're trying to find something to talk about, which is fine. But when Caleb Williams, he posted an IG post basically congratulating Jake Moody. And listen, I for years have wanted a Bears quarterback to be in the national spotlight, be the guy that can come out and do something and voice his opinion. In a post he posts today, the caption is, and I quote, "Nation's cap, good being back!" Exclamation point. Quotes Troy Aikman and saying, quote unquote, "It was lucky," quote unquote, "whoop-de-doo" was Caleb Williams' quote of whoop-de-doo. Listen, Troy Aikman, you can crap on the Bears all you want. You can shit on them. You can hate them. I don't care. But you are the disappointment of the week, buddy. And here's the thing. You're disappointed that the Bears won. We're cheering. We're happy. We're high-fiving. We're celebrating. We're drinking beers. Meanwhile, you're disappointed they won. And I'm sorry to say, you, my friend, are the disappointment of the week. I hope in future games you don't shit on the Bears as much. But if you continue to do, you're going to continue to be the disappointment of the week, no matter what.
All right, and that's going to settle it for today. Episode 1 here with Danny Pilot and David Barry, and this is going to be a weekly Tuesday. This one's going to come out on Wednesday, but live streams every day on Tuesday between 9 to 10, and you could check it out on both, we'll post it out. I'll post it out on my X. That's at Pilot D21, PILOT D21. And then, David, you can shout yours out if you want.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Having to go back to Twitter. I haven't shouted out my Twitter in a long time. I will also be posting the podcast. You can check both of us out on Twitter. Follow us there. React to our bullshit tweets. You can follow me at David Barry 08023, all lowercase. Guys, this is going to be a great thing. I hope you guys tune in every week to view our rant, to view our opinions. And let's end it like this. Chicago sports, we're here for you. We love you. We hate you at times, but our blood and loyalty will be with you till the day we die. So, signing off, I'm David Barry, one of your co hosts, along with my co host, Daniel Pilot. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great day. We will see you live next week.